Good evening, good afternoon, based on where you're connected from today. We welcome you yet again to ITWLA Europe Leadership Conversation. And it's such a great joy to have you with us yet again. And for people who are joining us today, please know that this is 9 p.m. UK time, and this is a weekly broadcast if you're joining for the first time. I believe it's going to be a wonderful time today on this broadcast today. Also, for some people who have been trying to contact us as well, we will also post on the YouTube channel contact details as well that you'll be able to use to contact us because we've been getting some feedbacks and want you to be able to send that appropriately as well. Also, please try and put some details, comments also on the chat box of the broadcast as well. That will also go a long way to encourage some other people. Okay, and that's me done with this for now. Today is going to be exciting. By the way, this month we've been on the theme of leadership determines everything. Leadership determines everything. And tonight we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. And some of you must have gotten the promo, gotten the invite as well. And it gives me great honor and great pleasure to have the very chairman of ITWLA and also the son of our founder, Dr. Miles Monroe, to be our special guest and the one that we're going to be conversing with today on this forum. So join me today, friends, network associates from all around the world, wherever you're connected from, Africa, Europe, from America, from the Caribbean, wherever you're connected from. Please join me to welcome Miles Monroe Jr. Hi.
Hey, good evening. How you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
You're welcome. It's such a pleasure having you in our midst today. I've been looking forward to this. I think I've got a clear picture of this. Months back, I'm thinking this is going to be a wonderful time to have you in our midst. Especially people want to hear a whole lot of different things. I'm not sure they're going to get that today, but they'll get a tip of the ice. But by the way, we'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell us something about yourself that everybody will, really will. I know some people want to know something about you. Please.
Sure. So my name is Miles Monroe, son of the late Dr. Miles and Ruth Monroe, current chairman of the board of directors for the International Third World Leaders Association, better known as ITWLA, an organization that our host, JD, is also a part of for many years. A little bit about me, I love to travel. I think that's something that I really enjoy doing, something that I find continues to bring me inspiration and keep my creativity genes going. I find a lot of inspiration when I travel, meeting people, meeting new cultures, learning about new places. I enjoy traveling.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah,
I think traveling really does broaden our horizon, learning
absolutely.
different cultures and meeting different people from different, background. Fantastic. And today, really, our focus is from the theme leadership determines everything. Our focus today, I want to zero in is the value and the power of self-development.
Mhm.
And before I even delve into that, I think I'm just gonna get, and I know everybody's trying to ask this question, so I'm going to do it in a very nice way. So you just give us a tip of the ice in just 2 minutes or something like that. And we shared right at the beginning of this as well that leadership determines everything. There's a quote which also Dr. Miles shared with us in different ways it's emerged. Alexander the Great said this, that an army of sheep led by a lion will
Mhm.
always be better than an army of lion better than a sheep.
Mhm.
Now, we know we had a founder who was a lion.
Mhm.
What was it like living under a lion, living with a lion, and seeing a lion, all your life growing up? Tell us. I think I put it.
Yeah, I think for me, it was, I think it was just a normal, it was my dad and in the house with him and my mom. It wasn't anything extraordinary to myself or my sister, if I could speak for her. Like I said, it was he raised us in a normal environment, as normal as possible, I guess. I think he continued to instill in us various leadership qualities that we've been learning and practicing over all of these years. But I think what I've been able to witness in my adult life, that's just growing up, right, as a child into my teenage years, but as an adult, seeing how he was able to manage these many different relationships that he had around him, or the many different hats that he had to wear. I think that was more of an awing statement or an awing observation for me than anything else, because now that I sit in a lot of these leadership positions, I see the the challenges that come with being at the helm, right? Being the leader, being the one that everyone looks to, and seeing or remembering how he was able to, like I said, manage all of these relationships, manage all of these situations. I think he did me a good. I was able to take advantage of being able to sit behind the scenes or sit next to him and just observe essentially what he did and how he did it and why he did it, right? And I was able to ask questions and gain a sense of a better understanding of what it took to sit in the position that he sat, and the foresight that he had in all the decisions that he had to make, all of the all of the plans that he had to put together. Just seeing that, I'm very much more appreciative of who he was and what he
Yes.
taught me and what I'm able to do now, because it's something that could be difficult for most, but I think as long as you're prepared and like you've been mentored and you
Mhm.
have the necessary qualities when it comes to being in those leadership positions, then
Mhm.
yeah, I think you'll be built for the job.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
This is quite important that you said this, because Dr. Miles used to say a whole lot that number one, mentorship begins with observation,
Mhm.
and so you having a first hand to observe him was quite important. And it did the same also in a way to us. He opened his life to us. So you always just see us around the house, and he did everything that he was doing normally. He just made it normal.
Mhm.
That we saw him in everything that he was doing, and that inspired a whole lot of people all around the world. And this is so key, to how leadership determines everything, because whoever you're looking up to, you're following, you become like you learn from them. It shows you, and this is so important to other parents watching this program today, other leaders, other CEOs, other mentors, and things like that. Sometimes people they call themselves mentors, but you don't know them, you don't see their
Mhm.
lives, you can't observe them, you only see them on a stage.
Mhm.
And so this is so important that some people will hear this and know that they need to open more to people around them. But
Mhm.
saying that, and before we delve into the full subject of today, before we start talking about the value and the power of self-development, we want to know, what do you actually call, or how do you see the concept of self-development itself? What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think so. From a book standpoint, the book definition is the
Mm,
process by which a person's character or
mm,
abilities are gradually developed, right? So it's the natural development
mm,
and progression of one's character
mm,
and one's skills or abilities. Um, for me, I think self development is something that we should continue to aspire to do and to have.
mm,
I think in the ongoing development of self, and that's through
mm,
our spiritual life, our personal life, and our professional life.
yeah,
I think those all of those areas of our lives are important for us to continue to develop in order for us to become uh, the person that we're meant to be. I think when it comes to self development, it's the process of learning new things and building
yeah,
new skills, right? So we should
fantastic.
always be open to learning new things, and that's whether through the contact with the different networks that we develop,
Yeah,
learning new things through the books that we read or
great.
the programs that we watch.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they're educational. Hopefully, they're positive. Uh, and then just building on new skills, right? Because all of us are talented, right? We've
Yes.
been given not just one gift, right? But
Mm,
we've been given gifts, right? We have multiple seed that have been planted in us, and I
yeah.
think as we progress through life, a lot of those seeds begin to grow at different times, right? So when we were younger, we were much more energetic,
Hmm.
much more easily recovering. So when it came to
That's right.
sports or when it came to anything that had to deal with athletics, that's where those
Mm.
skills flourished, right? But as we
Yeah,
got
yeah,
older, our body got older, we aren't
yeah,
able to move as quick or whatever. So we have
yeah.
to change, we have to kind of change pace, right? But there is a
Hmm.
gift in us for each phase of our lives. And I truly believe that. And I think
Yeah,
as we continue to develop ourselves,
yeah,
recognize those gifts, understand how those gifts can benefit us and those around us, and then
mhm,
continue to work on them on a daily
yeah,
basis, right?
yeah, yeah.
Encouraging ourselves to learn more, read more, do more, be active
Mhm.
in those different skills and
Skills.
abilities, and ensure that at the end of the day, we're trying to be as perfect within those skills as possible, right? And not never taking or never settling for any achievement that we have achieved, or any success that we have achieved, right? Continuing to trying to outdo ourselves from our last success. So
Fantastic.
I think that continuous development is important, like I said, in learning new things and building new skills as we progress through our lives.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow. And I think that is so important because somebody was asking me today, is leadership, are we born leaders or are we choosing or leadership is for the few? And I said, we're born leaders.
Mhm.
However, what happened is that a lot of people don't get to really develop, continue to
Develop those
develop,
skills.
yeah, the
Absolutely.
skills and that leader in there. And so
Mhm.
this is so vital to actually birthing the leader in us. Even though you might be born with leadership, but you got to keep on developing because that way you can evolve. But then I'm going to go a bit deeper again into this. Now, what are the main or key tools, you personally, have used to self-develop, over the years? I know quite a number of also young people, men
Mhm.
and women around the world. They want to know some of these things because we keep on saying, yes, we're born leaders, we have these things. Okay, they want to hear as well. What tools have you used that also other people can take some cue from?
Sure. Well, the first tool is really understanding who we are and why we are, right?
Wow.
You think my dad talks about those
Mm,
five most important questions we have to ask ourselves: Who am
mm,
I? Where am I
mm,
from? Where am I
mm.
going? Why am I here? What can I do? Right? And those,
Wow.
all of those speak to a particular part of us as individuals that allows us to continue to develop ourselves, right? So
Cool.
once I took it very seriously when I made it a point to answer each of those questions for myself.
Questions.
And in
Wow.
answering those questions, I was able to fine tune what my abilities were, right? Because in order for us to understand the tools that we need to use to personally develop ourselves, we need to understand what about ourselves can we develop, right? What is it about me? What is the unique thing about me that I have, that I possess, the skill sets that I have that I can now hone in on and develop? And for me, it was business oriented. I've been, from I could know myself, from I've known myself, I've always been a business minded person. That's something
Wow.
that I recognized in myself at a very early stage. So for me, that development came with having conversations with persons that I respected as far as business is concerned.
Business
So like
also.
businessmen and
Wow.
women, always asked questions, was intrigued about why they did certain things, or why they made certain decisions, or why they got into the business that they got into.
Yeah.
It was reading business oriented books,
Books.
and those range from self help books to persons that started autobiographies of persons that may have started a businesses or an organization, and the success that they have achieved. Going to school, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think I learned a lot, especially in my graduate degree, where we had to work directly in the field of, at least I was able to work directly in the field of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial studies.
Wow.
I learned a lot. So in 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 understanding what those main tools were, I truly understood what the gifts were that I possess, or what excite me, what
Fantastic.
the things that I was most interested in. And I found ways to plug myself into either individuals, organizations, or institutions that can feed me and help me develop those skills that I have.
Fantastic. Wow. Wow. So we'll go back to this now. And for everyone that's joining us today, I don't know where you're connected from, all our associates and friends network. This is the chairman of ITWLA, in the person of Miles Monroe Jr. And he's saying to you some of the key, and this is so important because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know exactly, what you want to do with yourself. So
Right.
I remember those 5 questions. They would never leave me forever, and it's, who are you? You got to answer the question of identity, which was what it was saying, that I got to know who I am. And the moment you know who you are, then you begin to know exactly what direction, what you're supposed to be doing with yourself.
Hmm.
Identity, I know you said identity. Who are you? Why are you here?
Why am I on
Where are
this
you?
purpose?
Yes,
Right.
purpose.
Where am I
Yeah.
going? This
Where am I
destiny.
going? Destiny. Where am I
What can
from?
I? Hmm.
My
That's
source, and
hmm
what can I do?
that's
Is the
potential.
question of potential. Because a
Absolutely.
lot of times there's a lot of things we can do, but we've never attempted to do it.
Hmm.
And I think every time you begin to ask yourself, what can I do? You find out there's potent abilities resident in us. You know,
All of us.
yes, all of us, everyone up. That's the
Hmm.
that's the key thing right now. And I think this is where we really need to go. That then there must be some value in this. So really going back to our topic. So what's the value and the power of self-development?
Man, that's such a great question, right? Because I
Mhm.
think whatever we want to get out of life, we have to first put into life, right? So the success
Whoa.
that we want
Can you
to
say that
achieve,
again? Can you say that again? Whatever you want to get from life,
you need to put into life,
put into life. Wow.
right? So the
Mhm.
work ethic, the ethics, the morals, the
Mhm.
discipline, the sacrifice that we need to achieve, all of those are characteristics that
Mhm.
are needed, not are
Mhm.
required, but are needed to
Needed.
be the most successful leader that we're all capable of being. And
Mhm.
let me just say this too: a lot of people
Yes.
um, equate leadership with being the head of something, right? Or like so being the owner of a business or being
Mhm.
the boss
Mhm.
of an employee complement, right? Or being the head of state or the head of an organization.
Mhm.
And my dad had this principle of leadership where all of us are created to be leaders, right?
Yeah.
And be leaders in our own area of gifting,
You're gifted.
right? So
Yes.
we don't all have to be the boss or the head or the supervisor or the
That's
manager.
right.
We just need to be the boss of our own space,
Oh
right?
my
And I
God.
think as we continue to develop ourselves in that space, then
Nice.
we're going to see that space expand and expand, and we're going to be given more responsibility because our leadership is being developed. My dad used this. I was a teenager at this point. I remember this. We were sitting at our dining room table at the house, and my dad had someone had came by, and I guess they wanted to get some mentoring from my dad, and they were asking him questions. And one of the questions that they had was, they have been getting all of these job offers over the
Mhm.
years, and my dad had noticed that they had been moving around from job to job, right? And they had this new job offer, and they was coming to him for some counsel on if they should take this offer. And he used this scenario. He took a a salt shaker that was on the table, right? And he
Okay.
said, if we move, if let's say there's a map of the world on the table, and he moved the salt shaker from one region to the next, right? Like the
Yeah.
salt is moving around, right? The salt
Okay.
is moving around, and yes, this the salt is gaining. Let's say. Attention and celebrity with all of these movements, right? But how much
Okay.
influence are they gaining, right? That was the key to his question.
Wow.
So
Wow.
what he said was, if you remain in one place, right, and you continue to develop yourself in that position, you will be able to you will begin to ascend, right? So, and he started to raise the salt off the table, the salt shaker off the table. And if you can envision this in your mind, if there's something that is on the table, right, and once you raise it off the table, it starts to cast a shadow, right? And the higher
Wow.
it goes, the wider that shadow is cast
It's
over that
casted.
space. And
Whoa.
the analogy that he was drawing was, you can be active, right, in
Hmm.
moving around to these different jobs, but you don't necessarily have to be impactful. And
Hmm.
once you
Hmm.
and he said the easiest thing to do is to develop yourself in the position that you're in and continue to rise, right? To gain promotions, to gain attention, to gain all of these
Wow.
things that ascend you. And as you ascend, you cover that same space that you would have covered if you continued to move around. And that analogy, man, I was there, and I just remember being like, wow, that just makes so
Wow.
much sense, right? Because you can see it. And leadership
Wow.
is a practical thing, right? And it's something that you have to
Hmm.
understand, that if you want to be influential and be impactful in the world, it all starts with developing yourself, and
So
you
wow.
have to almost become uh, disciplined enough to remain in
Hmm.
situations that you may not like, may not feel comfortable with.
Hmm. Hmm.
You may feel you want to leave, but those are probably the situations that you're in so that you can develop yourself as an individual, so that you can develop your leadership skills, so that you will be able to continue to rise and cover more mass, influence
Wow.
more individuals, impact a larger space
Wow.
in your leadership development. And that's
Wow.
just, that's just one of the things that I've learned over the years from my dad when it came to self development, right? And
Yes.
understanding
Yes.
why sometimes the next job isn't the right job for you, or the next
Yeah.
opportunity isn't the right opportunity for you,
Mm,
because there's
mm.
still some self development, some learning, some experiencing that you need to have in the space that you're in right now.
Wow, wow. The value and the power of self-development. I
Mhm.
like that. The more you go, the higher you go, you cast a shadow. And that really
Absolutely.
is really also what we call a impact or influence as well.
Hmm.
Influence. Developing self really makes one influential. Wow. I love it. I love it. And just like I think John Maxwell said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's the way you influence your space. You carve out that your space. You discover yourself. You discover your gifting, and you develop it. And literally, you become your true self in that your space. That literally everybody says you're the leader here. So they're looking for that person there, and they see they go for. Wow, I love it.
Right.
I love it. Now, knowing fully well that ITWLA has a major mission to the developing nations of the world, and there's a major leadership crisis amongst leadership in the leadership space, within leadership positions, within the leadership inherent in us as well. Now,
Hmm.
how will this play a role in the quality of leaders or the leadership in the developing nations and how they lead as well? And I think we really want to be a tool to deploying leadership, especially to a developing nation. Please help us
Yeah.
with this.
So I think our goal as an organization is to train the trainers, right? And I think
Whoa.
we want to be able to ensure that those individuals who are in these various regions or in these various organizations that are leading those organizations, we're able to have access to them to teach and develop their own leadership skills, because we feel like as an organization, we feel like if we can influence and impact those leaders, then that impact and influence will trickle down into the persons and the individuals, organizations that they also lead. So I think it's important for us to understand, number one, like the theme says, leadership determines everything, right? The success of something, the failure of something, the stagnantness of something, it's all based off of leadership, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
I truly feel that in order for us to be impactful leaders, we have to understand that uh, there are many ways to lead, right? We have
Yeah,
different types of leaders. We
yeah.
have leaders who are results driven. We have leaders who are emotionally driven. We have
Yes.
leaders who are who empathize well.
Empathize.
So all of
Yeah.
these different types of leaders are important when leading different types of individuals. So it's imperative that we as leaders understand the triggers that we need to see and respond to when it comes to leading a large group, for example, right? Because let's say for a sporting team, right, the coach
Okay.
or the lead player on that team has to understand what I need to do to inspire the individuals that are around me,
Around me.
right?
Yeah.
One of my teammates or one of my players isn't going to be motivated by like the rest of my players. So some of the players I can scream at and I can motivate them with screaming. Some of the players I have to cuddle a little bit and give an
Mm.
inspirational talk to. So there are many ways that leaders can lead, and I think the organization that we have in Itwala, we have so many leaders that are a part of this organization that I think it gives us the upper hand when it comes to training the trainers, because we're able to teach the different techniques and the requirements that leaders need to understand and that leaders need to lead by in order to be effective in their area of gifting. So
Wow.
it's resourceful for us to understand again with the type of leadership that we possess, but being developed in those areas and continually developed, right? Because the the methods change on a
Yes.
continuous basis, but the principles always remains the same.
Always
And I
the
think
same.
as an organization, we want to teach those sound leadership principles in order for the most impactful and effective uh, leadership to be transferred to the next generation and generations to come.
Fantastic, fantastic. That means definitely we need to be reaching out to these developing nations and having some time, sessions and things like that to help them develop. Now, with that takes me to actually the next question that might be maybe the last question, and maybe just a word for us before you go, is that if ITWLA has such a great mission, I believe that this might be a place a lot of people might want to be part of. Trainers, you want to be part of this, you want to be part of this move. You want us to be part of your organization, and you're looking for something. You want to know more about this. For those who would love to be part of ITWLA, can you help us? What can they do to be part of this great assignment?
Sure, you can log on to our website. The website is ITWLA.com. You can find all of our contact information there. You can even find some information about our organization on the website as well. There's a phone number and there's an email address on that website that you can use to contact us. We can send you an application to join the organization. You can give us a call if you have questions about the organization. But we're an organization that are comprised of leaders that are looking to help the developing nations in their leadership ability. So again, that website is ITWLA.com. You can log on to that website if you want to reach out to us.
Okay. Now, Mr. Chairman, I like to call you Mr. Chairman, just one more word from you, just something for the younger generation. Just a word for the younger generation in the next.
Sure. I mean, I'll give you my favorite mantra and something that I live by. Nothing changes until your mind changes.
Wow.
Right? There's nothing that you're going to be able to do, nothing you're going to be able to achieve until your mindset around that particular thing changes. So, I'll encourage each and every one of us to always lead with a positive mentality. Be open to learning new things. Be open to developing your new skills, and you'll be surprised of the things you'll be able to achieve.
Fantastic. Wow. Nothing changes until
your mind changes. Absolutely.
Wow. That means we're literally victims of our mindset.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I can add one or two things to that one. Get some Miles Monroe books as well. It will help change your mindset.
Absolutely. Actually, always helps.
Those materials, they changed my mind. They're still changing my mind even till now. Fantastic. I must say it's been a wonderful time with you being our guest. I can tell you for one that definitely we want you back. I know we might not be able to get all of you this year, but definitely we're looking at another scope of discussion sometimes early in the new year. So we'll be looking to have you back as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
For really, giving us so much stuff today. And I know a lot of people are going to be plugged into this space to listen to this broadcast. By the way, it's been such a wonderful time with us. Tonight, this is ITWLA Europe Leadership Conversation, and your host, JD Modede. I look forward to be back with you again next week, same time, same channel, 9 p.m. UK time. But also, you want to know a bit more about ITWLA, just watch this clip and you get some tips. Thank you. Welcome to ITWLA Europe, and my name is JD Modede, the Regional Ambassador for ITWLA Europe. ITWLA, who are we? Watch this.
Hi, my name is Miles Monroe Jr., and I'm the Chairman of the Board for the International Third World Leaders Association. Our organization was birthed to respond to and address the critical need for quality, effective leadership development and training in the emerging developing nations.
Our vision is to establish a global network of leaders from every discipline,
committed to the highest standards of excellence in leadership training, personal development,
mutual accountability, and fraternal support, implementing relevant and innovative leadership, philosophy based on time-tested precepts, principles, and values.
Our mission is to influence the destiny of developing third world nations through leadership training,
personal development, supportive relationships, and global networking.
Our purpose is to provide transformational solutions
in response to the dynamic leadership needs of the emerging third world developing nations.
Our goal is to cultivate leadership commitment
to produce leaders
dedicated to the empowerment of their people,
the progressive well-being of their citizens,
and the betterment of their nation.
The strategic approach captured in the slogan coined by our founder, Dr. Miles Monroe,
was transforming followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. Our focus is national development through transformational leadership,
transforming nations, communities from the inside out.
Join us in ushering in this new era of our organization.
We are tasked with carrying this vision forward,
and we are devoted to ensuring that we leave an unwavering legacy.
The organization that produces effective leaders
with global reach and influence.